What's up, crew? Welcome to Raw Vlog number 21. Raw Vlogs are recorded live in front of a steering wheel on my way to getting my Friday morning coffee delivered straight from the camera to you, unedited and raw. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, this is the MTB Allen channel. I'm Alan, and if you want to join the crew, hit the subscribe button and you'll be getting a new video every Monday at 5 p.m. And these raw vlogs every Friday whenever they come out. Okay, so today we'll be doing some channel news. I'm adding a new segment which will be a point of contention. I don't know if I'll have one of those for every Friday, but point of contention, point of gratitude, and then we'll get into the main stuff where we'll be talking about hating on Snow Summit for long lines, change of seasons, and the things that brings philosophically. The bit of channel news, you probably already know I have the Hero 8 Black. I think I talked about it last week and I posted it on my Instagram. But I've been thinking about doing a video on it, but there's already been a fair number, at least one really good review on the Hero 8 Black, checking it on a mountain bike, the Lone Ranger stuff. He does a really good job. He's very detailed, plus his videos are well produced. And he did a really good job of comparing the 7 and the 8 and talking about the whether or not it's worth buying it. Go check that out. I have a couple of thoughts on some specific things I can cover that may have not been covered. If there's things that you think are lacking in other people's reviews that you'd like me to cover, let me know and I can look into that. Yeah, so other bit of channel news, as we said already, you probably already know, last weekend was closing day at Snow Summit, closing weekend at Snow Summit. I've got vlogs from that, and we'll be having a multi-part vlog coming out over the next couple of weeks. A whole bunch of stuff that happened. Yeah, so point of contention. My point of contention, not to belabor the e-mountain bike subject, but people, when they're talking about e-mountain bikes versus mountain bikes that don't have motors in them, will talk about electric mountain bikes, e-mountain bikes, and they'll talk about analog mountain bikes. My point of contention is, if it's analog, it's still electric or electronic. So I think what you mean to say is there are e-mountain bikes and then there are acoustic mountain bikes. So just want to point that out. If you want to use those two terms, not analog, acoustic. Cool. I can't claim credit for that. I heard that on the Path podcast. So yeah, shout out to those cats. Oh yeah. Okay, so point of gratitude. I have a lot of gratitude for change in general. I don't always like change as it's happening or as I'm thinking about it, but a lot of the times after the change has happened, I feel kind of revived. I like when things are different. For better or worse, I like when things change, which really kind of connects us to the whole subject matter for today's raw vlog, which is the change of seasons, and things shifting in our worlds, in our day-to-day lives. And we experienced this recently at Snow Summit closing weekend. This closing weekend was a bit rough for a lot of people because they shut down Chair 1. And they also had to shut down Turtle Trail because they were shutting down Chair 1 in order to inspect the cable. And in order to set the cable on the ground to inspect it, the cable was going to run across Turtle. And so they had to flatten out the places where the cable was going to be lying on the ground. So they had to shut down Chair 1 and they had to shut down Turtle, which meant that there were way more people on Miracle Mile and Party Wave. Just basically all the traffic got routed to the other trails, of course. But then on top of that, because Chair 1 was closed, the lift line, I should say, was crazy long, and people were not happy about that. You'll see in the vlog, you've probably seen some Instagram posts on how crazy those lines were. So my point being, I think the amount of frustration that people were experiencing around that really kind of spoke to how much people enjoy Snow Summit. So, you know, the season was ending. People were hoping to get that last bit of stoke from, you know, Snow Summit, and they were prevented from doing that. So all the hate really kind of speaks to a level of love for Snow Summit. So, you know, it's this point where it's going away. The mountain biking at Snow Summit, or the bike park, is going away for the winter, and we're bummed about that. So for me, when these kind of shifts happen, I guess I've kind of been conditioned to already start looking at what the absence of this, right, the vacuum that this forms in our lives as mountain bikers, what's gonna swoop in to fill that vacuum. And it's really easy for a just general sense of loss to fill that vacuum. You know, oh no, I can't ride those trails anymore. But really, I mean, if you live in Southern California anyway, and I'm not trying to rub this in anybody's face, I mean, most of you who are listening and watching are probably in the Southern California area or thereabouts. But in Southern California, we still have the rest of Southern California to ride, you know? Like, our riding can kind of shift to the more like lower elevation places, beach trails and stuff like that, where it's normally crazy hot in the summer. So those areas are going to get really great. So when Snow Summit starts shutting down, my mind already starts going to wetter trails, cooler conditions, and riding trails that I maybe haven't ridden for a while because it's been so hot, or at least experiencing those trails in a different way. So Southern California, we really only have 2 seasons. We've kind of got the dry, hot season, and then the kind of wet, not so hot season. But things do shift, you know. Bike park closes and stuff like that. Obviously, we still have Sky Park, but when change happens, as the seasons change, you know, it affects what trails we ride, it affects what our trails are like, and you know, it's one thing to be bummed about a Snow Summit being closed, but it's another thing to be stoked about the new conditions that we'll be riding in throughout the rest of the year. The other thing I think is, I don't know, so I didn't ride the whole season, but I know, like, I think, you know, past seasons that I've ridden, towards the end of the season, you gotta admit, you know, there's times when you're like, feels a little played out, you know, you've ridden Party Wave Westridge like 17 times in a day. You start getting nitpicky about things, you know, like some corner is a little dusty and it can start to annoy you. Other riders on the trail can start to annoy you, and you get a little tired of it, you know, and it's basically like, you know, the air in the room starts to get stale, and what you need is like a fresh, you know, volume of air to come in. And fortunately for us, you know, if, you know, our lives tend to make this happen, you know, the world makes that happen. Bike park closes, we can't ride it anymore, but it means that we can kind of do something new and experience new things and go do different things, but it also kind of starts to rebuild the stoke we have for Snow Summit for next season. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, somebody said to me, you know, like, it's you know, every life has different seasons, you know, we go through different things, and I've definitely have seen people who they kind of resist the seasons, and then they have this, they just kind of are the same and don't do changes throughout their lives. That's not necessarily a bad thing. For me, it doesn't, I feel like I get complacent and I get bored, and I just don't feel like I'm getting as much out of my life. Maybe it's like eating the same thing every day. So I like when things change. Like, this has not been the greatest thing in the world, but I have kind of taken that philosophy of this is a change, this is a major change in my life, and turned it into something and made it into an adventure. So I think just generally having that attitude with things like, you know, something not terrible like the bike park closing or a change of job or whatever, and and just having that as a general attitude turns into good training for when major things, major impact, major losses happen in our lives. So by practicing that with one thing, you can start practicing that with everything. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm cool with change. I like change, and especially with mountain biking, I know by riding different terrains, riding different bikes, it really helped me progress as a rider. If I was riding the same thing all the time, I wasn't adapting to new terrain, and I just kind of there was gaps in my riding skills that I was blind to, and there's probably still more gaps there's a whole bunch now because I haven't been riding for so long. I'll be a beginner when I get back on the bike. But yeah, also thinking about how this pertains to just general fitness or training. I think changing up the training and keeping it varied is important. For instance, if you go and ride, say, Sky Park, right, every weekend, and there's nothing wrong with that. That can be really fun. But if you use that as your kind of pedal training, you're good at pedaling. How much is it? Is it like 400 feet? But your body becomes really good at pedaling up that distance, and with that level of intensity. That climb doesn't have a lot of spikes. It's a pretty even grade as you're climbing up. So cool, you get good at that. But if you were to go and ride something or pedal up something that's 600 feet climb, or 500 feet even, you wouldn't necessarily be as prepared for it. So again, change, variance, all that kind of thing, it's good for us. So yes, Snow Summit closed. It's kind of a bummer, but really it pushes us out and makes us go ride stuff that we maybe haven't ridden for a while, and builds up the stoke for next season. I'm looking forward to next season already, kind of, because I didn't really get to finish this season out. In any case, that's raw vlog number 21. I hope you dug it. If you did dig it, hit that like button. If you want to join the crew and get a video from the MTB Allen channel every Monday at 5 p.m., as well as these raw vlogs on Fridays, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't so much dig the video, hit the comment button and let me know why. See you soon.